Kathleen, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was giving a very eloquent beginning with my mute on. So sorry about that. I am Kathleen Cotter Clayton, and we're going to talk today here about fractions the way you wish you had been taught. So welcome everybody for joining us, and also for those of you that are listening on the recording. So let's go ahead and get started. Most people look at fractions and they get a little lightheaded. They're like, whoa, fractions, I don't know about this. But actually, fractions are very necessary. Oops, if I get my computer to work here. There we go. Fractions are actually very necessary and very useful. We do say a quarter past an hour, or we use it with monies. What monies? We use it with money, good heavens. We also use it when we're cooking with measurements. Actually, fractions are really amazing. But where the problem starts is how we teach it. So normally when we teach fractions, we use circles. This is kind of the norm. This is the way I learned as a child. But there's a question with it when I'm comparing them. Am I comparing arcs, angles, or area? And some of you are like, well, that's just a silly question. But there are kids who are going, well, what are we comparing? Are we comparing angles or arcs or area? What are we comparing? Never minding what the answer is, let's look at what it looks like to a child. So I've labeled all of these, and let's try to compare 4/5 and 5/6 with this model. It's hard. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, interestingly enough, experts in visual literacy say that comparing quantities in a pie chart is difficult because most people think in a line. It's easier to compare along a straight line than it is to compare pie slices. Specialists also suggest refraining from using more than one pie chart for comparison. So this just kind of shoots out all of our ideas on the pie charts. So how should we teach fractions? We're going to use a linear chart. Remember, it's easier to compare along a line. So we're going to use a chart this way. So this represents 1/5. Here's 3/5. Here's 5/5 and 6/5. See how we can continue with this. The linear chart makes things very simple. Well, we can start with the very young children or a child who's never really experienced fractions, regardless of their age. We ask them to start to put it together like a puzzle. So I've got the 1 and the 2 1/2, the thirds, the fourths. As a side note, use the word 1/4 when you're talking with math. Don't use quarter because, well, I'll show you why in a minute here, but use 1/4. So 1/4, 1/5, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Now, the reason we want to use 1/4 rather than a quarter is there's a pattern, because if I start and say I've got 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, 1/7, you can hear the pattern. But if I say 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, it's like you can't get the rhythm going. So in math class, now obviously they're the same, a quarter and a fourth, but in math class here, we're going to call it 1/4. Here's an interesting pattern. There's actually some really cool patterns in the fractions. We can make stairs out of it. So I'm going to take my 1, the half, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. This curve is called hyperbola. I can take it again, I can stack them up against, center them, and now I have 2 hyperbolas. Now, some of you are going, it's a what? Well, it's kind of a higher level math thinking, but it's a name of that curve. It's in the fractions. So here's my chart. Now, some people look at this and go, okay, I get your point. We'll do it in a line, but let's color it because, we should do that. But let me go back here. Look at these patterns. Remember this pattern that kind of came up and then back down again? I've got it right in here too. You can kind of see it with my mouse. You kind of get this pattern. But now watch what happens when I color it. Those patterns get masked. You can't see them. We don't want them colored. We want to leave them without color. It helps the children. back to this. Sometimes what'll happen is children will start to say all fourths are green or all eighths are pink. No, they're not. They're just simply 1/8. There's not a color associated with it. So we've got this chart now. Now we want to know, how should we practice what we've learned? And we've had some talks on this during our online conference here about games. Games are to math like books are to reading. The games provide the instant feedback as I'm going through and playing with it. The games provide the repetition that's needed for those automatic responses in a social setting. And most importantly, games provide an application for the new information. So your kids may not care about fractions, but if they have an opportunity to beat mama or beat daddy at a game, they're all over it. And that's great. We want them to want to learn this. So I'm going to show you a real simple game. This is called unit fraction war. Now, some of you are going, unit fraction, I've heard of that. What is it? That would be something like 1/2, 1/4, 1/8. It's one something. That's a unit fraction. So we're going to have a unit fraction war. So our purpose is to practice naming and comparing unit fractions. And this also helps the children realize that a unit fraction decreases as the denominator, the bottom number, gets bigger. And our goal, remember war games, you lay down 2 cards, whoever has a higher one takes it. That's the game we're going to be playing here. So we're going to have a unit fraction war. So we're trying to take all the cards from our friend. So I'll have this be you. This is me. So we both lay down 2 cards. I have 1/5. You have 1/4. Whose is bigger? Well, if we're not quite sure, let's look. Here's 1/4. There's yours. Here's my 1/5. Oh, yeah, 1/5 is smaller. But wait a minute. Isn't 5 bigger than 4? Yes, it is. But we've broken it, the whole, into 5 equal pieces. So 1/5 would be smaller. You have 1/4. You've broken it into 4 equal pieces. Okay, yep. So you get this one. Way to go. Let's do another one here. 1/8 and 1/2. You have 1/8. I have 1/2. Yes, I win this one. Okay, next one. Ooh, we have a war. Lay down an extra card. And now who takes it? 1/3 or 1/4? Again, you can reference your chart and you can see, yes, 1/3 would be bigger, and take all the cards. It's a very simple game, but it's a worksheet. And that's what we want the kids to do, is to play these. And basically, again, they're practicing their facts. They're doing worksheets. We like to say 10 to 15 minutes of a game is the same thing as a worksheet. So have the kids play the game. If you're having a bad day, you're in a headache, or you got to clean the house, or something's happening, have the kids play games. They're the same thing as worksheets. They're working with it. All right, let's continue with fractions. So now I've got my fraction chart again here. How many fourths are in a whole? Well, I can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Oh, 4/4. How many fifths are in a whole? Hopefully you're saying 5/5. How many eighths are in a whole? 8/8. I have actually met people who do not know how many eighths are in a whole. And I'm very embarrassed to say that some of them were even teachers. They did not know this. You have to know this. If you don't know this, how can fractions make any sense whatsoever? It doesn't. And so that's where we need to have the kids seeing this so they can say, how many eighths are in a whole? Well, I can see that there would be 8 of them. How are we going to practice this? We're going to play a game, concentrating on one. Our purpose is to help the children realize that 5/5, 8/8, and so forth make a whole. And our goal is to find the pairs that make a whole. Now I've got a pre-selected group of cards. Of course, I'm going to use my fraction chart. So if I pick 3/5, what do I need to make 1? So if I have 3/5, what else do I need to make 1? I need 2 more fifths. I like the kids to announce, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a 2/5, because otherwise they're just going to turn over a card and kind of look at you and go, did I get it? So I like them to look. I'm looking for a 2/5, turn over a card. Oh, look, I got it. Go, way to go. So I scoop these up. Okay, it's my turn again. So 3/8. 3/8 needs what to make 1? 3/8 needs 5/8. Now, by the way, notice I didn't give them a rule. Well, 8 minus 3 is 5, so the answer is 5/8. That's how to figure out, but that's not why it works. Using the chart, 3/8 needs 5 more eighths to make 1. So again, I'm looking for a 5/8 and shoot, didn't get it. So your turn. You pick a, 5/8. So let's look, 5/8. What do you need to make 1? 3/8. Were you guys paying attention? Do you know where it is? Hopefully you're going, it's right there. It's right there. Yay. See how much fun it is? Again, would you want to do this with a worksheet? No, but to play a game? Okay, that's pretty cool. I can do that. So we're going to play the games and practicing. So we're going to build this foundation. Next, we're going to begin to compare fractions. So which is more, 3/4 or 4/5? 3/4 or 4/5? Oh yeah, obviously 4/5 is more. Again, the linear chart makes it so easy. It's almost embarrassingly easy. Let's do another one. What's more, 7/8 or 8/9? Look on the chart, 7/8 or 8/9. Oh yeah, 8/9. See how easy that is. Now I'm just going to jump back real quick to the fraction circles. What's more, 4/5 or 5/6? I don't know. You can't tell. It's much more difficult with the circles. Which model's easier? Well, yeah, the fraction chart would be. Here I can see it. All right, now I'm going to take my chart and use a partial chart. So what we recommend, let me go back for a second. We recommend is that you keep one fraction chart intact, so it's all together, and then you have one with all the pieces. So here's one I put together with the pieces. So I'm just using the 1, the 2 halves, the 4/4, and the 8/8. Now I'm going to do something here on my computer screen. You can't do this in real life, but I want to show this to you because it's really cool. I'm going to erase my horizontal lines. I'm going to get rid of my little green numbers. What is it? It's a ruler. What? I have had people about fall off their chairs going, you have got to be kidding me. So how are we going to practice it? Exactly. We're going to play another game. So we're a fraction war game where we're going to practice comparing ones, halves, fourths, and eighths, which helps the kids learn their getting ready to read a ruler. And of course, we're trying to capture all the cards. So the same thing that we did when we did the unit fraction war. Here I've got 3/8 and 1/4, 3/8, 1/4. Oh, you guys take it, 3/8. Okay, here's another one, 5/8 and 3/4. See how easy this is with the chart. 5/8, 3/4. Yay! Oh, got a war. And we keep going from here. Isn't this neat? So which is more, 3/8 or 1/4? Again, looking at the chart, yep, you can see that 3/8 is going to be more. Once we get good at it, you can do an advanced war game where you have something like, what's more, 4/7 or 5/9? Oh, 4/7 is just by a little bit. We also have an app where you can practice this. Perhaps if you need some screen time, or there's a situation where maybe you're driving and you don't want to have to play a game with cards, you can use the app. And this is both an Apple and an Android app. And we've got 4 levels. Beginner is be the one that we just looked at, the halves, fourths, eighths. The easy adds in the thirds and the sixths. Medium adds in fifths and tenths. And then the hard also throws in percentages. So we've got this game available for you. You can purchase this again, either for Apple or Android. All right, let's look at equivalent fractions. So what's the same? So how many fourths equal a half? So here's a half. How many fourths equal a half? Well, it'd be 2/4. How many eighths equal a half? Here's my half. How many eighths? There'd be 4 of them. How many sevenths? Here's my half. And, well, it's obviously 3.5. Now, we normally don't say 3.5 sevenths, but that's obviously the answer. What about fractions greater than 1? Here I've got 9/8. Well, that was easy. I want to show you something with simplifying fractions. This tends to make kids get a little bit weird. They get a little melty on this. They get a little excited. So let me show you. We're going to simplify fractions. If I have 5/10, it's the same thing as 1/2. 4/8, same thing as 1/2. 3/6, 1/2. 2/4, 1/2. They're all the same. Help the child discover the algorithm so that they can figure it out themselves, because what they have been obliged to learn to discover by themselves leaves a path in their minds that they can use again when the need arises. That's what we want to do, is we want to help them learn how to learn how to figure things out. And I do want to take a couple quick seconds. I've got to show you this because it is just so cool. I want to show you another way to simplify fractions. Remember we said 5/10 is the same thing as 1/2. Look at that. This is just your ordinary multiplication chart. So like here, I've got 8 times 8 is 64, 9 times 7 is 63. It's just an ordinary multiplication table. And when you do this, they have to be in the same column. So 5/10 is the same thing as, in the same column, 1/2. I can do it again here. 4/8 is the same thing as 1/2. 3/6 is the same thing as 1/2. 2/4, which we know from the chart. But wow, now you can do it here. Let's do another one. Let's do 21/28. Remember, they need to be in the same column. 21/28. Do you see that somewhere? Right here, 21/28. They don't need to touch. They just need to be in the same column. 21/28. And I move it off to the left and 3/4. Look at that. Let's do another one here. Let's do 45/72. Again, same column. They don't have to touch. They need to be in the same column. So 45/72. Do you see it there in the 9s column? 45/72. I move it off to the left. Answer is, I can simplify this. Now, I don't call it reduce because it's a simpler way to say it. Reduce sometimes has a different meaning. So we like to use the word simplify. We simplify with another simpler way of saying this is 5/8. Now, some of you are looking at this going, wow, why did that work? Well, remember I said it has to be in the same column. It's in the 9s column. What's 45 divided by 9? What's 72 divided by 9? That's where we end up with our 5/8. Isn't that cool? Let's do 12/16. Now I happen to find it over here in the 2s column. 12/16 is the same thing as 6/8, but oh, look, here's 6/8 again. And I can move it up to 3/4. Now I could have found the 12/16 here in the 4s column, but I didn't. It worked. Remember, let your child discover the algorithm. So back here, you don't say, well, it's 12 divided by 4 and 12 divided by, or 16 divided by 4. Let them discover, oh, I'm dividing it by 4. Oh, that's why that works. So let them discover the algorithm. Let's look at adding fractions. What's 1/4 plus 1/8? Here's 1/4. Here's 1/8 right there. Now I can't put those together, so I'm going to scoot that little 1/8 over. So we have a common denominator. So we're going to be in the same line. So I scooted it over, brought the 1/4 down. Answer is obviously 3/8. Let's do another one here. Let's do 1/2 plus 1/3. 1/2 plus 1/3. Okay, this is going to be a little bit harder, but we can do it. So I'm going to look at my 1/2. Is the 4ths going to help me? No. How about the 6th? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to remember 3/6 is the same thing as 1/2. So let's go look at my 1/3. So 1/3, another way of saying 1/3 is 2/6. Oh, we've already got 6. So I'm going to put my 1/2. I'm going to add my 1/2 in. Other way of saying 1/2 was 3/6. So I'm going to put it on there. Answer is 5/6. Isn't that just gloriously simple? And that's what we want the kids to do. I'm going to leave you with one last thing here. How does multiplying fractions work? We're going to use the chart again. What's 1/2 of 1/2? So another way of saying it is 1/2 times 1/2. But what's a half? And what's half of it? It'd be 1/4. What's a third of a half? So here's a half. What's a third of it? 1/6. You just multiplied fractions and nobody cried. Perfect. So with our fraction chart, it allows the child to explore the whole picture and the relationships within the whole using a linear perspective. Now with RightStart, we teach fractions from level A all the way to level H. We're going to do it mostly in levels D, E, and F, but you're still going to get exposed to it, the very simple stuff in levels A and B and C, and then we're going to kind of review it in G and H. So the bulk of it is D, E, and F, but again, it's taught in all of it. If you've got an older child that needs some work and we just want to do fractions, we now have the tutoring series. We've got RightStart Tutoring Fractions, and here we have a kit that has the lessons, and there's about 17 worksheets, but there's 42.5 days of lessons, and we play card games every day with this tutoring kit. So we can help you with both just fractions, or again, they're incorporated into the RightStart math program. In conclusion, math needs to be taught so 95% is understood and only 5% memorized. This is what RightStart math does. And our goal as a teacher of mathematics is to help our children transform, expand, and refine these beginning ideas into deeper mathematical thinking. So what questions can I help anybody with? You can either unmute and talk, or I can see we've got a couple comments on here that we've never noticed these things before. Things are very cool. I'm so glad you guys like this. To me, fractions are absolutely the best. I actually had an opportunity just this summer, was in at Cambridge University in England, Cambridge, and spoke at an international conference on fractions. And that was just so humbling to be in front of all these people and showing them the very basics with fractions, and to have people come up to me afterwards and go, wow, this is what RightStart does. Sherry's asking me, can I show the slide again where the lines were removed to show the ruler? Yes, give me a second. I'm just going to scroll backwards. It's okay. It's right here. So here's, oh, no, that's the war. Let me go backwards. Right here. So here's the partial chart. So we got the ones, halves, fourths, and eighths. And again, you can't do this in real life, but it's really cool to do it this way. I'm going to erase my horizontal lines and get rid of my little green numbers. And that's my ruler. What else can I help somebody with? I'm so glad you guys took time out to help your kids with this process. This is just, to me, fractions are just so cool, and they just kind of get a bad rap. Sharon, oh, hey, Sharon, how you doing? She said, what I have seen is that kids from whom I'm tutoring, who have been in RightStart a few years before this is before mom hires her, because again, Sharon is a tutor, have an uncanny ability to manipulate fractions and even convert to decimals. Sharon saying this RightStart program is just amazing. Thank you. I kind of think so too.
Would you be willing to show us another game, like maybe just one of your favorite fraction games?
Actually, I'm embarrassed to say my favorite is actually the war games. Quick story about my son. We were playing like one of these games, And I live in North Dakota, so we have a lot of driving time. There's just, I mean, to go anywhere, even my nearest stoplight is 45 minutes away. So we have a lot of drive time. And my son was working on fractions, and I shouldn't tell people this, but we were driving and I was playing the card game with him because, I can drive and hold cards at the same time. I mean, again, I live in North Dakota. There's like no cars. But anyhow, we were going through and we're doing it, and we were playing the game, and it was funny because it was this fraction war game itself, and we're going through it, and Matthew's going this exact game. And, I'm not really paying attention. I just kind of pull a card out, and he'd say, if I win or lost, and I'd hand it to him, and we kind of kept going, and I'd, kind of keep an eye on him periodically. And at one point he had 7/8 and I had 3/4. Let me just go this way. So I have just distraction. He had 7/8. I had 3/4. And he said, Mama, I beat you by an 1/8. And I had to look at the chart to see that, yes, he was right. 7/8 is 1/8 more than 3/4. And that's the power of these games. Real quick question regarding the games. Sometimes people get a little bit, they feel a little challenged reading the Math Card Games book. We now have the, help me out here, Kelsey. Oh, the Math Card Game videos, instructions. So it's not to play a game, but the instructions to show you how to play the game. It is a subscription-based service because you don't need them, because all the games are in the book, and you can always call us for help. We've also got some of the instructions on a blog, a little bit chattier, because I tend to be a little chattier. But we also have the instructions available on video on our Vimeo website. But if you go to our if you go to our website, down at the bottom, there's a link that says something about the videos. You click on there and then head over to Vimeo, and you can purchase them. We charge $4.99 a month, and then you can get all the games either by just fractions or by whatever level you're teaching in. And you can turn it on and off as you need to. So if you don't school through the summer, turn it off, put it back on again in September. Any other questions? Just going to zip to the back here. If you guys are going through this and you have any questions, whether it be with the curriculum, oh, it's right here, just a second. Whether it's with a curriculum or how to play a game, or my kid is stuck on something, call us. We've got customer service people ready, willing, and able. They're just kind of standing by, just waiting for you to call. You can send emails to us. Depending upon what level your question is, they'll go to different people. Sometimes I answer them, sometimes Rachel answers them, sometimes Eileen and Amory answer them, kind of all over the place. And like I said, so you call us, email us, let us know what we can do, because we want this to be successful for your kids. And in order for it to be successful for your kids, it has to be successful for you. So what can we do to help you? We're just hanging around waiting to help you. Let us know what we can do for you. All right, and any other questions? I'll just give it a couple more minutes here to see if somebody's got something that they're trying to furiously type. Again, you're welcome to unmute and ask also.
I have another question, not
Yes, please.
fraction related. Do you have any other games that are on apps?
We do. We actually have 3 of them. We've got a corners game. It's called Super Corners, so it's a variation of corners. Still, it's fun. That one I actually have to tell you, be careful with, because it is so addicting. Sorry. I actually only allow myself to play it on airplanes, because you land and you have to get off the airplane. Otherwise, like when I played at night, I don't stop. It's such an addicting game. Anyhow, so there's the corners game, the Super Corners game. There's the fraction war game. And then there's also it's the go to the dump game, but we call it go to 10 online. There is also, and I know we're not talking about the abacus here, but we also have an abacus app. So if you're using the curriculum and you want to use the abacus, we have to have an app that is the abacus also. Oh, Jenny is saying Super Corners is so fun. I know. And I'm so sorry. It's addicting. Not really.
Are those apps all listed someplace together in one place on the website?
Yes, tell you what, let me do this. Let me share my screen real quick. I'm gonna re-share. So just give me 1 second to shuffle. I'm going to show you where to find some of this stuff on our website. I just have to get this up here so we don't. Okay, so let me share screen. All of a sudden, here we go. Share screen. I'll show you where to find this stuff here. Here we go. Okay. All right. I think you guys can see just my website, right? Yes. Okay. So first of all, for the games, so I'm down here at the bottom, I'm RightStartMath.com, and right down here, by popular request, Math Card Games video, click, and this takes me over to our page with all the games. So you're level, let's say we're level D, and here's going to be all the games. They're all in here. Every game that you're going to play. There's a few exceptions. We just actually did kind of an analysis. We discovered that there's, probably about 20 games that are missing over all the levels. So we're not talking a lot, but if there's one in here that should be, we're getting there. So we apologize if there's one missing, but these are all the games that you're going to play in level D. Or if I want to, in this case, we're fractions. So I'm going to look at fractions. If I know my alphabet, here we go. Right here. These are just the fraction, RightStart Math fraction games. So here's going to be all the games. Now, these are not all the games in the fraction chapter of the Math Card Games book, but these are all the ones that are used in the curriculum. So we already looked at the unit fraction war. We looked at fraction war here, concentrating on one we talked about. This game of one is kind of fun. This one I want to show you too. This one, I'm going to show you real quick here. I'm going to jump back over to our website because here's another place to find a whole bunch of really good, cool games. Go to our blog, card games. You see right over here where it says card games. Here's a whole bunch of games. So we've got all these games in here. So let's just say I want to know what fraction games. I'm going to just type in the word fraction. Okay, so here, this looks like some stuff that we were doing. Here's a game, Fraction War. So here we're talking about it. Oh, this was one I was talking about something else. But here's the fraction chart. So here's the game. Now we just talked about this, so this isn't too exciting for you. Let's see. Here's one, Fraction Old Main. This is a game you haven't seen before. So again, we're going to show you how to play the game. So this game is also in the Math Card Games book, but it's nice to see another way of looking at it and a lot more pictures. There's something else I was going to show you guys. Anybody remember what it was? I don't remember right now. Oh, the apps. Under resources, down to apps right here. Oops, come back here. Resources down to apps. Here we go. Here's the app for the abacus. Here's the corners, super corners. Here's the go to 10, which is the go to the dump game. And here's our fraction war game. So if I want to go to, here it is. Oops, we're apparently having an issue. There it is. $1.99. Let me see if I can go back here. So let's look at the corners one quick here. I'm an apple, so we're going to choose that one. Oh, I guess this is another way of looking at it. So this is kind of how you play the games. You can do multiples of 5s, 4s, and 3s. And again, it's super addicting. I apologize in advance. All right. Any other questions that I can help anybody with? How long is the app active? Forever. You buy it once and it's all yours. Love and cherish it. Let me go back here. There we go. Oops, sorry, that is not supposed to do that. Hang on a second. That was like seeing, it's like opening a drawer and seeing things in the drawer you weren't supposed to see.
Kathleen,
Sorry.
this is Sharon. I was going to actually call you right after this and ask you a question, but maybe I can just ask you here. It's not
Yes.
particularly related to fractions, but I'm working with a student and I actually personally have had this problem a lot. We're doing check numbers
Mhm.
and she has a tendency to transpose digits. And so instead of writing 13, she'll write 31 and the check numbers don't check that.
Right.
So is there something I can do to help her with that other than just say, slow down and be careful?
Well, it's funny. You're right. Check numbers don't catch that. And if somebody wants to know what check numbers are, just come right over here and type in check numbers. And we have right here. What are check numbers? There's a blog that I wrote. And then I think somewhere here we go in the recorded webinars. We also talk about check numbers. But for somebody who transposes, and I do that a lot. I've got a little bit of dyslexia, so that just makes life a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's problems other places besides check numbers for her too. And so it's
right.
like, what are some good tools I can use to help her overcome that?
What I find for myself, for me personally, because again, I deal with this myself, is I know that this is a problem of mine. So I tend to be very careful when I write them down because I know that that's my kryptonite. I know that that's a problem. And so it's one thing if someone's like, yeah, I know it's a problem versus, okay, I know I have a problem with it. So I have to stop and think 13, or I might stop and say, what's the other way of saying 13, 10, 1, 10.
Yeah, that's true.
1, 10,
3.
or 10, 3, I mean, so 10 and 3.
Yeah.
So I would be careful how to write it. And then also with her, I'd be careful to, if she writes down 31 instead, say 31 the math way, 3, 10, 1. Now say 13 the math way, 1, 10, 3, or have her put them on the abacus.
I bet the math, she's like a 6th grader, so I'm not sure how much she's going to want to go back onto the abacus, but I think having her think it the math way in her head, I think that will be a good.
That would work.
Really
but the other thing too is if she can't see, if it's just a simple error and I've transposed it, but sometimes you get younger kids that don't realize the difference between 13 and 31.
Yeah.
So here's 1, 10, 3. If I can get my numbers right, here's 1, 10, 3. You can kind of see it there.
Mm-hmm.
Or 3, 10, 1. Oh, hugely different.
Right. Yeah.
So depending upon what the problem is, like I said, if she's like me, my biggest thing is to calm down. I know it's a problem, so I'm very careful to say the numbers. And I can even hear them when I say them out loud that they're backwards, or I write them down. I'll stop and think, is that correct? Is that what I wanted to say? Yes, no. And so again, I just have to be very hyper vigilant with it because I know I do it backwards.
It's actually why my business logo is a turtle, is because a lot of times I have to encourage the kids to just slow down. And pay close attention to what you're doing.
Yep. It's kind of like if I've got an ankle or knee that's a little wobbly, I'm not going to just run willy-nilly. I'm going to be a little more careful with it where I place it.
Right.
Same thing.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think we will sign off on this. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy fractions. They really are fun. Take care, everybody.